You were listening to the Battle Ready podcast. My name is Aaron McManus, and I'm here with my dad, Erwin Raphael McManus. It's good to see you.
It's good to be seen.
We just got back from Miami. We were in South Beach. We were doing a little conference, event, networking thing called 100 Million Masterminds.
Mm-hmm. We were there with Joel Marion and a whole group of friends that I've developed over the last 2 years. It was a lot of fun.
Joel Marion,
yeah.
He's like mythological to me.
Yeah, he's very special.
You know, like he's so special,
Yeah.
but he's also so kind.
He is. He's like a gentle giant. He's massive.
Yeah.
And he looks like he could eat people.
No, it looks like if he was like in Greek mythology, he would have freed nations. No, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm being serious. And honestly, like I woke up, I had 5 hours of time out on a flight back from Miami to Los Angeles, and I felt like, and I wrote this post and I was writing down notes and kind of trying to process, because when I'm in the moment, I'm really critical.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really critical. I'm slightly negative, and I'm always picking everything apart. But
Mm-hmm.
I really did feel, I want to thank Joel, because not only should he not have allowed me in that room, I didn't deserve to be in that room
Mm-hmm.
by any means. And to be honest, that room wasn't for me.
Mm-hmm.
But it was phenomenal to be in that room and realize that this was something to aspire to.
Mm-hmm.
And not the money and not the greatness, but the level of attention they pay to the details in which they're like navigating, processing, discussing, presenting to each other. That was infinitely valuable. I have a long list of abbreviations I still don't understand from the weekend. And it was 48 hours, and I was tired after the first night. So I don't know how you're standing up after 2.5 days of that.
It's very intensive. It's relationship intensive. It's conversation intensive. It's thought intensive. You really have to be fully engaged and fully present. And if you do, I think if you do it well, you leave pretty much spent and exhausted.
Yes. And it's just, you know, it was really.
We were
it
in
was-
South Beach, but there was no beach time.
There was no beach. The beach was aspirational because I could see the beach, but I couldn't touch it.
Yeah.
I walked on the sand one time.
That's like so many goals.
It really is. We're all looking at the beach that we can't touch.
Yeah, there's a lot of relationships like that too.
Yes,
that's Instagram dating. You're at South Beach, but you never quite make it to the beach.
Oh my goodness. Don't get me started
It's all
on dating. I don't want to
aspirational.
get started on dating right now. No. So we went to this event, and it was kind of hard to explain to friends who were like, what are you going for? Because the prerequisites are, can I say what the prerequisites are?
Well, the
Am I
one
allowed?
prerequisite I think you can't say is that their companies have to minimally make $100 million a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So worth $100 million a year.
And they pay six figures to be there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, so explaining that was difficult to people. So you was like, oh, we didn't know you had it like that. And I was like, oh, yeah. No, I don't. But you know what, though? I wrote this post, and I don't know. I was in my feelings on the plane.
Mhm.
I was listening to Gang of Views. I was having a moment. But really, I wanted to somehow like Brooke, are you laughing at me? I hear you laughing.
Turn
at
your
me.
microphone up. I want to hear you mocking Aaron.
That means she laughed so loud it went through the soundproof booth. Dang. No, but I wrote about it because I felt like I needed to show appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think a lot of people have a chip on their shoulder. A lot of people have maybe feel like they've achieved something slightly. I feel like by being your son, I've achieved a lot of things. By being born your son, I feel grateful. But and with that, I felt like this was the moment. I felt like I felt the great responsibility that I have to help you to take everything I've learned and to be able to transfer that to other people.
Mm.
You know, if I can be anything but like
Thank
a conversion of currency from your brain to normal people, you know what I mean? Like Brooke understands you, you know, Joe understands you, but I have to Google most things you say, and I've got to like explain it to everybody. So anyways, I really felt it was a special weekend.
Mm.
Our friend Eric Roy came with us,
Mm-hmm.
and it was really cool because there was a moment where we're in like a boardroom setting. And I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot.
No, that's good.
I'm excited.
I love that.
I really am excited. And there's I think in our room there was 10 people, and there was like 3 coaches, 4 coaches, and then there was like 6 people who were all equally
Tremendous investment in people. Yeah.
tremendous investment. And they just sit, they round table, they break down each other's ideas. And so that's the moment where you just go, hey, look, here's where I'm at.
I just loved, even in the room I was in, people who were grappling with, small companies going, my ceiling is 41 million a year personally, or my ceiling is 25 million. And they're asking advice from a person whose ceiling was 1 billion.
Right.
And the person who made $1 billion from a company started from scratch, and his wife, both of them, were there just pouring freely into these millionaires how to optimize their opportunity, how to think more clearly as leaders, as executives. And I'm sitting there
He
going,
said something really savage to that woman. And she was great. I met her later. She was incredibly
it's amazing, though,
successful and intelligent.
Yeah, the successful people, they get savage.
Yeah.
Like, they're savage. And so when someone is savage to them, they get it. They're like, you have to tell me the hard truth.
Say what he said.
Yeah, you guys say. I don't even remember.
No, I know exactly, because you told me afterwards. I was in a different group. Me and Eric showed up to this other group, and
oh yeah,
he said, "Oh, I could 10x your business, but the first thing I do is fire you."
No, he didn't say fire her, but he goes, but you'd have to surrender.
Surrender.
And he goes, and I don't know if you're capable of it, and if you're not capable of it, then I can't help you. And
I mean, if there's not an infinite amount of things you can learn from the idea of like surrendering the control, or maybe the power or authority in certain situations, just to let, maybe God do what he's going to do in your company, or just, maybe you're the dam blocking the water.
These are incredibly talented people who end up becoming the log jam for their further impact, because they can't let go, because they're so good at what they do.
Yeah.
If all by yourself you can grow a company to 50 million, that's pretty impressive. But that 51 becomes elusive until you learn how to let go and trust other people.
Yeah.
And so everyone has a certain capacity within their own talent, intelligence, skill set, but you're going to hit your ceiling. And that ceiling then requires a level of surrender that you probably have never had to practice before, because you were always the man or the woman.
And you know what? Like, I was there and I felt really intimidated, and we walked out and someone handed me a cigar, and I was like, "Dad, I don't want to smoke this cigar." And you're like, "You don't have to smoke the cigar." And I just felt awkward that I had this cigar in my hand, and I was like, I don't smoke.
But it's because the guy was literally there rolling.
Handing out.
He was rolling them.
They were whole rolling them, get handed out to people. And I was like, "Dad," it was like, I was so intimidated. It was like going to school with all of the Avengers, and you're like the normal human. But Eric Roy's 6'4", so he kind of fits in with them. He's like, I don't have superpowers yet, but like I'm in the height range at least, And but me and Eric were sitting in this round table, and we're sitting around. Sorry, I was just thinking about my cigar reference. But then, like, who would cancel me for cigar reference? But then I forget that pastors, they pretend like they don't drink, but they actually do smoke cigars and play golf. So we're good. I won't get canceled. You don't.
And no, but I can still really enjoy the art of that guy rolling the cigar.
Yeah.
So I was enjoying watching him do it.
I took one puff and almost died.
I'm just not into cigars, but I love the art of it.
I'm into the idea. I told you, I was like, I'm into the idea. Like, when I was younger, I would smoke cigars, but then we've been really focused on getting healthy and being healthy last, Anyways.
I mean, one of my friends owns a cigar company. Actually, quite a few of them.
Quite a few, and he'll send me boxes, and I love it. I use them as gifts, and he's amazing. Okay, so one thing I want to talk about was the boardroom me and Eric were in, and it was so fascinating, right? Because one of this guy's companies he's like essentially like a really, really niche accountant to save people lots of money on taxes, and how to invest the right places in your business so that your business is growing, but all the while being tax responsible. It was really cool. It wasn't like how to get around it. It was like how to be like ahead of it. You're going to make this much. So let's invest that in the right places in your company so that the government's seeing what you're doing. So you're able to, it was really cool, and transparency. And it was so interesting to hear, like, he's laying out his problems. He's going, okay, these are my issues. I have 12 guys and they're amazing. And I have this one guy, he's a rock star and he's managing the 12, but I don't have another one of the rock stars. And so it was a think tank on how to help him duplicate that one person and also duplicate himself. And I was like, oh, this is cool, because this is a CFO he's a CEO that's really a CFO of a company full of CFOs.
Yeah, that's pretty fascinating.
It was so fascinating.
It's almost Inception-like.
It was Inception. And I was like, oh, his problem is that he's not CEO. So, and then Eric Roy came in, chimed in, said something really brilliant. And he just he's so good. His poker face is incredible. He belongs in those situations. I was like, if you all want to learn how to dress, I can help you. But as far as how to replicate yourself, I can help you there too, but you're not going to listen to me because my hair is kind of long. I got tattoos and stuff.
Well, I mean, a lot of those guys are tatted up.
They did.
Yeah.
I was so fascinated by the leadership blocks they would bring. And I feel like at times there have been places in my life where I didn't want outside help in how to grow leadership. And I realized if you can do it when your company is, he has a 6-month waiting list, his company is worth however much money, you know, and I'm going, if he can go, like, I can't figure this one thing out. These are my problems. I think these are my problems. What are my real problems? You know, and then a guy half his age is just ripping him apart going, you know, this is all like, it's all in good kindness, but like boom, boom, boom.
Yep. Yeah. You know? And the thing that you realize in rooms like this is that people who are highly successful are always aware of their need to learn. And strangely enough, they are ruthless in acquiring intelligence. They are ruthless in acquiring genius. They're ruthless in acquiring expertise from someone else and just absorbing it and making it a part of who they are as fast as possible.
It's crazy. Bobby Castro, 9th grade education.
Yeah.
He gives a talk. And I've had like the privilege of having dinner with him and you and his amazing wife.
He's one of my favorite people in the whole world.
Incredible. But he like is open. He's like, I have a 9th grade education.
Yeah.
I'm like, and he would say he's not achieved, you know, in that side of life that, you know, educationally he's at 9th grade, that's it. And I'm like, no, what he learned outside of the classroom up to the point of 9th grade surpassed so many people's like a higher education.
Yeah, he was just too smart for the 10th grade.
No, he was too smart. And then, you know, he sells his company for, you know, lots of money. So it was, and this is the other thing too, is that it wasn't—
he says openly, he sold it for $1 billion.
Okay.
Bose offered 1.6.
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. It wasn't just about money.
Yeah.
Right? You broke it down so well because we were outside and I was making you do stories and I was like, you got to record stories. But one thing that was such a value that you picked up was it hardly is about money because, yeah, they have nice things. Yeah, they have cool watches or cool clothes or cool cars, but it's about their discipline.
Yeah.
Can you kind of unpack that a bit?
Well, just one of the things I just keep hearing as a theme because these guys are so disciplined. And when I say guys, I actually made it fairly gender neutral. I mean, there are men and women.
Yeah. Everyone.
And I mean, an overwhelming number of men in this group, but this principle applies for all the women who are there too.
Right.
They're all so incredibly self-disciplined. If the session started at 8:30, they were in the gym at 6 a.m.
Crazy.
And they're all just in top condition. They really take care of their personal health. And really, I think a huge part of it is because you have to, in some sense, like believe in your capacity to achieve impossible things. And I think that there's all these external symbols of success, whether it's watches or purses or clothes or cars or planes or houses. And in a sense, it's almost like those are the Christmas tree ornaments, but the tree can be dead and look great. But when you look in the mirror and you're in optimal health, right. You're, you know, it's just, you know, in great shape. You got, you know, whatever, a washboard stomach, or you're, you know, you have, you know, no more than, you know, 18, 19% body fat, or, you know, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
You're looking in the mirror and you realize that you're taking discipline over your life.
Right.
And I actually think that that's one of the factors I see over and over and over and over again, is that these are people that make choices that match their confessions. You know, because there is kind of like an interesting culture of like, you know, making confessions, you know, confessing you're going to be rich, or confessing you're going to be successful.
Right. Manifesting.
Or,
you hate that word.
I hate that word, but you know.
I like manifesting.
Okay. You know, but it's like this whole idea. It's funny because this is in the business world, but the Pentecostal world has the exact same language.
Right.
And so it's kind of funny that they both use the same kind of ideology. But the difference is that they're not just confessing. And it's like, so if you only watch like the Instagram reels, you think it was all about confessing, but it's not.
You mean manifesting? Confessing is not the term you're
well.
Their
confessions are about manifest. They're trying to manifest their future.
They're proclaiming.
Yeah,
Not confessing.
Yeah, you're confessing that your company is going to make it.
You're still trying to make fetch a word, and I'm not going to let you make fetch a word.
I think it's the right
word.
word.
It's not confession. It is proclamation.
It's a declaration.
It's a manifestation.
Anyway, but on the other side of whatever that word is discipline.
Right.
Behind their words, there's action. And when you get to know these people, you realize these aren't just people who are talking big talk. These are people who are making big choices that bring them tremendous personal discipline. And there is incredible sacrifice. And the sacrifice translates in their physical health, but they're also making those sacrifices when it comes to their business choices. And that to me is really interesting. And it's also commendable. And at the same time, I think there's also that great tension they have to work through on how do I do this in a healthy way so I can be a great wife or a great husband, be a great father. And a lot of them talk about how while they were building their businesses, they were neglecting their families, and they had to really come to grips with the fact that, they wanted to be their son's father, not just their son's beneficiary, and they don't want to just provide money for their kids. They want to provide love and relationship too.
It was interesting. I was in that boardroom setting, and I don't know, it wasn't so much boardroom, it was like war room setting. Mm-hmm. And one of the guys, so it was the guy sitting next to the CFO, CEO guy, and he goes, I hire his company to save me an F ton of money. And and they're being brutal, and I'm sitting on the wall like, this is crazy, fly on the wall status. And he goes, and this is why, because they talk about family, and it all came down to like, but also how do you be a good father? Because he goes, I know I could be way richer. He used a bunch of bad language. Yeah. I could be way richer, but I like my family, and I want to be around them, and I want to be a dad.
I think they all realized at a certain point that they thought money was the most important commodity, but time is actually the most important commodity.
Interesting.
And so now they're trying to figure out, how do we shift to where our value is time, that we get to do every day the things we care about the most.
Right.
And frankly, if you get to do every day what you care about the most, what you love the most, you are infinitely rich. It doesn't matter what your bottom line is.
Right.
And for some of them, I think what they loved is the hustle. They just love getting up in the morning and just, make a little more, do a little better, or make it something bigger. And so I think the hustle is what is addictive to some of them. Mm-hmm. But there does come a certain point, and with most of them, where they move to a level of maturity where they're going, no, my marriage is more important, or my family is more important.
Right.
And the hustle has to be secondary, has to submit to the highest value in my life for relationships.
Yeah.
And so it's just a good reminder that you don't want to spend your life making something that destroys what you care about most.
It's, the thing I took away from it was, I don't have a family other than my family, my parents and my sister and niece and Jake. But the thing I took away from it was that you're really building two businesses. You're building your family life, and you're building a business. And if one succeeds without the other, you still have failed.
Yeah.
And so but it didn't focus too much on the failure. They're trying to be optimistic. They're trying to be forward thinking, forward looking. But a lot of it showed the importance, especially from the older guys, going like, this is so important, right? Like my family, the people that I support, my faith, the finding something you can believe in, and really like letting that ground you so you're not chasing after the wrong things.
Yeah. And I think they also understand the power of second chances, because so many of them made a lot of money and then lost just boatloads of money.
I mean, I made 140 million and then I lost it all in 2 years.
I know, and they said it. They say it so easily without having to take a second breath. And I'm like, yeah, man, I remember when I lost around $6 or so million. I mean, it left me, sucking air for a good little season. And so I mean, business takes an incredible amount of risk and it takes a lot of work. And when these guys talk about losing $100 million, and I think the reality is they realized failure is inevitable, and but success takes perseverance. And if you, and in fact, I was telling you and Eric yesterday that you need to be careful because when you think you're avoiding failure, what you're actually doing is avoiding success. And you cannot avoid failure and actually move towards success. And you have to be willing to embrace the pain of making mistakes and of failing if you're going to actually move into your optimal level of living.
You said that flippantly, which was so frustrating. And, and we were talking, right? Like, in those situations, you're comparing yourself. And I think every single person in that room is comparing themselves because they're going, okay, how do I copy and paste his cultural values, his ideals, the things that made him successful, and then bring them into my company and then get rid of my weaknesses and help, fill in strength with weakness or weakness with strength, sorry. And, we were talking about the coaching business, and we're like, this person is making 40, 50, 60 million a year coaching people. And I met one of the coaches, and the coach said to me, it's about helping, it's about convincing them you're an expert. and Eric was talking to this amazing woman. She was very cool in line. And I was kind of, I'm not this, every time I just push Eric, I'm like, you go and I'll come with you and I'll listen. And I was like, Eric, they really truly believe that convincing someone is more important than actually being the expert. Mm-hmm. Convincing them you're an expert is more important than being an expert. That should not be the case. But I think so many of us are more worried about convincing other people we're the expert versus just going like, hey, I'm not the expert. This is my journey to trying to become an expert. Yeah. Do you want to help me and I'll help you?
I think I think it'd be fair to say I live on the other side of that spectrum.
Right.
I've spent my life developing genuine expertise, and I still don't feel like an expert. And one of the things I've just thought was so funny or ironic along the way is watching other people create courses and seminars and masterminds that I've invested in, that I've developed, that I've built into, and I know they're not experts, but they just basically call themselves. And I guess you just one day appoint yourself, I am the world's leading foremost expert on leadership or whatever it may be. And then you just convince yourself. And I think the mentality is if you can convince them, then you are.
So here's the deal. I'm convinced of a few things.
Okay.
Because I know you're an expert in communication. Mm-hmm. I know it. You know why? Because I was a kid. They made me go to a lot of church, and a lot of it was boring. God didn't do it. The Bible didn't do it. The person talking did it. You want the best melatonin in the world? Go listen to a boring speaker. Not just in church, but at a TED Talk, at any conference. Yeah. Everyone has them. And oftentimes, this is what I've learned though, right? Is that you are an expert of communication. You're an expert in a lot of things, right? Because I would use the jack of all trades phenomenon as I would say that's you. You are a jack of all trades and a master of a lot of them. But it took you years, decades to become a master of a few of them.
I've been doing it for a long time.
But one of my favorite things is the way you communicate.
Thank you.
The way I introduced my dad is he's the greatest communicator of all time. And I truly believe it. You're the greatest communicator of all time. You are. I believe it. You're not the first communicator of all time, but I do believe you're the greatest.
I'm an MJ.
No, but seriously. So the last 2 years, which, it was crazy being in Miami. I wish we had moved to Miami 2 years ago. We would have been free for 2 years. We've been in LA, in a prison, the last 2 years. Now you want to know? I've just taken off my mask. What? The coffee shop I go to just let me take my mask off like last week.
They're still nervous.
They're still nervous. I'm like, I cough, the whole room turns. Mm-hmm. You're a master of communication. So we created a thing called the art of communication.
Yes.
Which is, we said this is not a master class. But what we meant by it, it's so much more than a master class. Yeah. This is a deep dive, intensive communication course, 6.5 hours long, 28 videos broken down into the perfect amount of content to help you go from point A to point B to point C to point D.
Right. Well, I don't want you to oversell it.
No. I am over.
It's not 6.5 hours. It's 6 hours and 15 minutes.
Okay.
So I don't want someone getting mad because we shorted them 15 minutes.
What are you talking about? They're going to get a Zoom conference summit where you're going to break down how to build a talk. Mm-hmm. that they're going to have access to. The thing I know about
Yeah.
ever buying into something with you is that you always give more than you promise. You know, and so you always
try.
And so
Yeah.
the utility of this is growth. You will grow if you watch this, and if you break this in and you let this seep into your soul, into your mind, into your framework of communication. So if you're trying to communicate in a relationship, you're trying to communicate in school, as a professor, as an artist, as a chef, as a business leader, or a business person who's being led and wants to lead, entrepreneur, and dare I say actor, my least favorite breed of them all. If you were a quarterback, if you're a team, I've been watching Man in the Arena, Tom Brady. He's an amazing communicator. But imagine how many championships he would have won if he had taken this course. But we had this idea. So that's my hard sell. So go sign up for the Art of Communication, theartofcommunication.org. The link is going to be in the bio for Battle Ready. It's going to be in the bio of my dad's Instagram. It's probably going to be in the bio of my Instagram. Go sign up. We're going to talk about the details next. I want to get into your brain about why we did it, why we did it this way, and why this is so important to you.
Okay.
Yeah?
All right. Let's do it.
Okay. We're going. Why are we giggling?
Why do you guys keep turning off that mic?
Why are you giggling?
Because
we can't hear you, Brooke.
Because you had me rewrite the website to not promise anything, and you're promising everything. You're promising Super Bowls.
I did not promise a Super Bowl. I said, what if? Imagine what could happen if you invest in yourself.
We're just all crying.
I'm sorry.
You know, what's interesting, though, is that the best in the world always have a coach. And what's, to me, even more interesting is that the best in the world always hire a coach outside of their coach, because they don't leave greatness to chance. They invest in themselves. So Tom Brady not only had Belichick as a coach, but he had a private trainer, a private nutritionist. He had people that he hired to ensure that he would execute at his optimal level. And you find this to be true in every arena where there's an expression of greatness. You do not become great when you're not willing to pay the price to move through what I would consider like the thin line that's required to move from being exceptional to being extraordinary to being great. Because moving from bad to average is fairly easy, but moving from average to good is harder.
Yeah.
But moving from good to exceptional is incredibly difficult. And moving from exceptional to great, that's when you have to actually move into the micro details of how to improve your own gifts, your skills, your capacity. And I guess the first question you asked me when I was putting out the Art of Communication, when we're putting this together, is it's expensive. And I actually don't think it's expensive, but I know people will perceive it to be expensive.
Right.
Because when I look at what the cost is in comparison to what it costs me, I feel like I'm giving it away for free, to be honest with you.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
it costs me so much more. And it costs our team that's worked so hard an incredible amount of time, energy, and resources. And so when someone says, I can't afford it, it creates in me almost this frustration, especially with, I'm just going to talk to pastors for a minute, especially with pastors, especially with people in the Christian world. Because when you say you can't afford it, what you're actually saying is not that this material is too expensive. What you're actually saying is you're not worth the investment. And I have found a way all my life, even when my ceiling income was $16,000 a year, and the year before that, I think it was $12,000 a year. Even then, I found a way to access and get to the resources that I needed. And I didn't care if I had to save my pennies. I found a way to get what I needed to grow. And
You bought a
yes, I did.
VHS tape that is sitting in my living room right now because we actually have to get it converted, and I found it.
Yes.
You spent $1,000 on it
I
in
did.
the 80s.
Yeah.
In the
It
80s.
was actually Probably 1990
Okay.
or so.
$1,000 in the 90s.
That's right. And I was still making less than $15,000 a year total
One,
income.
how did you pay for it? And two, why did you do it?
I bought it because I knew that this resource had the capacity to change the way I could actually even explain why we needed to move into a different world. Like I was trying to explain to people mindsets and paradigms and worldviews. I was trying to change people's minds. And suddenly I found this person who was unwrapping the whole concept of paradigms in a way that gave me the ability to begin to communicate it more effectively. It also gave me a reference. I could say, hey, there's this guy named Joel Barker, and he's done this research on the business of paradigms. And one of the things that I know, and this the whole point of it is, it wasn't the only video I bought. I mean, I remember spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a 40-minute video by Margaret Wheatley and on leadership in the new science. This is like 40 years ago. Because whenever I found a resource that I felt was unique and it was giving me access to a new way of seeing, a new way of thinking, a new way of expressing myself, I never thought it was too expensive. I always felt like I was worth that investment because I was going to change and I was going to grow and I was going to be a part of creating the future.
So sign up, theartofcommunication.org. Sign up for the wait list. This drops on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
What is the date of that, Brooke? March 23rd. And this is the thing, right? So we're offering it at a specific price.
Mm-hmm.
And on Monday of next week, it's going to go up $1,000 because we care about it that much. Care about it that much. It's at that much value. Like to what it costs to get you to a conference or to any speaking engagement for 30 minutes is so much more than what this costs.
Yeah.
And this material goes so specific into communication, right? And so I like one thing that I always am like struggling with at being 33 and I didn't finish college and I went rogue and I had to figure it out. And luckily I think I've spent my life studying under a genius shaman. I posted a photo of us on a conference call in Miami, and you looked great, by the way. You were wearing the McManus Gallery shorts. They looked sick. It was amazing. And I was like, in The Alchemist, there's a moment where Melchizedek gives Santiago Uman and Thuman, like the gifts, to help him decipher which choices to make in his life along his journey. I'm like, this is you giving them that thing. So that when you go to write your message, or you go to write that pitch in a business space, like you don't have to wonder. You can go, I have these elements, I have this toolbox, I have the how-tos, I have the ability to connect to people personally, and I have this 6.15 hour downloaded into my system, and I can apply it to how I communicate with everyone in my life.
Yeah. And I mean, I went to Elon University, then University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Then I got my master's degree at Southwestern. I don't even know how many courses I took on communication.
You're going to stop at your master's?
Oh, well.
They built a school around you and called you a doctor.
Yeah, and
PhD.
I've helped develop multiple doctoral programs and master's programs. And I can tell you, people pay tens of thousands of dollars for master's degrees, and you never learn how to communicate in a way that allows your authentic self to connect to an audience in a life-changing way. And I wish I'd had in college or in my master's degree or in seminary, something like this available. And then just to be able to go back to it over and over and over again and process it at my own pace until I go deeper and deeper into who I am. I have to admit, I believe in this. I believe in what we've created. I believe it's essential. I am so tired of listening to people perform on Sundays. Preaching has become a performance art. It's rather than a transformational experience. I mean, you don't have to be that intuitive to listen to preachers and go, this does not feel authentic to who this person is. They're preaching cliches. It's superficial. It's not coming from the essence of who they are. And to me, if you're a pastor, the message of Jesus and the truth of the scriptures are too important for us to see preaching as a presentation or as a performance. And preaching needs to come from the essence of who we are. And that's a huge part of why I put this together. But I did it in a way that it relates both to a person who is a pastor and a person who's an entrepreneur, a person who's in ministry and a person who's in business, because I wanted to give this to everyone. I didn't want the language of it to make it inaccessible to someone. And by the way, that's a part of communication, learning how to use language in a way that allows people to feel that they belong.
It's so good. I mean, we've been a part of the team of 3 or 4 people who've kind of had the opportunity of combing over this information, combing over this content, really diving deep into it and understanding where you're coming from and the journey that you bring alongside this communication course. You tell lots of stories. You give a lot of practicals. You talk about the theory of communication and the practicality of communication, and then how that merges with this idea of human intrinsics and connecting to a singular person inside of the room and connecting to an entire arena.
Yeah.
So I think one thing that you do so well is you go super, super, super detailed into why that one person matters and why you'll never win the arena if you don't win that one person. Because if you don't actually look at that one person or care about that one person, you're really not speaking to anyone.
Yeah. The 2 things I kind of want to do that are just maybe just like 1 hour kind of free offerings. And
For people who buy this thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to do something where I can help pastors maybe look at one place in the Bible for Easter.
Okay.
And just give them how I approach the scriptures when it comes to like an Easter Sunday's message. Because what I had in my mind was taking one verse out of John 19 and showing them how to build an entire message out of it, how to first put the infrastructure, the skeleton, and then how to add meat to it.
Cool.
And then in the business environment, I would love to have a conversation on how to take seemingly disconnected disciplines and pulling insights from them to enhance your message. Like this past weekend when we were in Miami, and I was there on at the 100 Million Mastermind, and I was asked to speak on Sunday. And so I know the people that I'm talking to at that particular moment. They're in a whole different space. They're business people. Some of them believe in God. Some of them do not. And the closing speaker that afternoon was an expert on NFTs. And so some of the people in the room were kind of in that world. Last year, they had someone who came and talked to us about cryptocurrency, and everyone there pretty much made investments in cryptocurrency. And so one of the things I talked to them about was I said, look, if you're having a hard time believing in God, I've had a hard time understanding Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and NFTs. And so if you're having a hard time understanding God, maybe it's the same kind of journey I'm on trying to understand crypto and NFTs, because they don't seem to be real, because they're non-tangible, because they're non-fungible tokens, because cryptocurrency is a currency that exists in an invisible world and I can't touch it and hold it. And what we need to realize is that NFTs and cryptocurrency are actually an economic bridge to understanding the reality of God. Because what's happening in the human experience is that we are taking fungible tokens. We're taking things we can touch, art and material, and we're taking physical currency, dollars and quarters and pennies and dimes. And now we're moving into a new reality where those tangible, touchable, material realities are now existing in an invisible reality, which is called cryptocurrency and NFTs. And if you can believe that there is art that is non-fungible, if you can believe there is currency that exists in the visible world of crypto, then how can you not believe there's a God? Because this is the economic bridge to understanding the existence of God. But here's the difference. We are moving from fungible to non-fungible realities. God moved from non-fungible to fungible realities. See, everything that existed before God created was non-fungible. And then God created the material universe and everything became a fungible token. And so if we can actually move from a fungible reality to a non-fungible reality, why would we not believe that God can move from a non-fungible reality to a fungible reality? I actually think the emergence of the world of cryptocurrency and NFTs opens up the human experience to the reality of God and his existence and his presence everywhere in life.
Okay, so if they go right now and sign up for the wait list and they go and buy this thing on Wednesday when this thing releases, will you break down kind of how you saw this and connected this and you built this idea? Because I watched you do it in real time, and I was watching, like I was kind of sitting, it was like at a big breakfast room, and it was insane. Like watching people's, like the lights.
You could feel what happened in that moment. I had goosebumps even as I was coming to realize this was one of those moments where the light came on for people that light switch had not worked before.
I mean, I was looking around the room and someone was recording, and I almost about snatched his phone because I was like, this is proprietary information that we're going to keep locked up in a top secret vault. But so you'll break down kind of how you come to these realizations and these ideas.
Yes, I want to help.
Like the practical steps.
But I want to help the people who are serious about becoming world-class communicators. Because frankly, I'm using this as a filtering system to find the people who are committed to becoming the best communicators in the world. And those are the people I'm going to invest in. And
if the woman who owns like the $40 million coaching company, she should make this a prerequisite for every person she coaches, huh?
No, I think that'd be amazing. And I think
she should.
Because what I want to help people do, and because I was having a conversation with a guy, and he has a high view of himself in terms of his own intellectual capacity. He said
he claims he has the fourth highest IQ.
Well, I think he claims he has the highest IQ in the world, but maybe But one of the things he said was, "Hey, it's hard for me to be." I think this is the way he said. He said, "I know that It said that we're supposed to be in a room with people more intelligent than us." He goes, "But that's impossible for me." And since I'm the most intelligent person in the world, and
he said that he's not. He's like saying I'm the most intelligent person in the world,
and so he was implying that there wasn't any environment where there was a potential for learning. And I said, I'm surprised that you don't understand the power of cross-disciplinary creative learning. Because there's a jazz musician who's a greater jazz musician than you are. And what he's learned as a jazz musician, you should be able to translate into your arena. I mean, there's a botanist somewhere that has a level of genius that you've not developed. And I said, I'm surprised you don't understand the importance of cross-pollination of genius. And that's the thing that somewhere along the way at a young age, I stumbled into the importance of cross-pollinating my own imagination and my own creativity with the genius of other people. And when you do that, you now become far more interesting. You have much more texture, and your power to communicate effectively is transformed.
It feels as if he has misplaced the meaning, where some wires are crossed, where he thinks genius means omniscient. Sorry. Which one is the one with all-knowing?
Yeah, omniscient.
Okay.
Yeah. If you were all-knowing, you would have known that for certain.
I made no claim to be a genius. All right, we're going to take that out, but let's keep that in.
I think that's very fun. That's very funny.
Right, but I think he thinks he's omniscient. And the ability to be a genius is this understanding that we're going, I can learn from everyone. I may not be able to learn everything that they know, but I can learn from everyone.
Yeah. But I have to say, like, one of the things that really struck me, because I always reflect on these conversations, is I am so glad that there are people who are smarter than me, more talented than me, more gifted than me, more inventive, more creative. Because if I was the most intelligent and most creative and most gifted and most extraordinary person in the world, life would be so boring. But because I'm always going to meet someone who has unexpected genius, unexpected insights, like astonishing creativity and artistry.
Yeah.
Makes life more magical for me because
Right.
every room I go into, there's something to learn, there's something to experience, and something to enjoy. So maybe I'm just going to celebrate the fact that I'm so far away from perfection. I can learn in every room.
So here's the thing. I think I was born to be your son to gas you up, to talk about the things that I do know, and I do know that the guy who was a genius was interesting, and I didn't like him. I don't like him. And it's fine. I literally met him and then he started doing his thing and I like literally turned around, walked away and went over to the corner and took photos of the city for 30 minutes because I was like, this guy. I don't need to listen to someone who knows it all. I have no interest. I want to learn from someone who is still on the journey of learning even though you know they know more than you do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's why it's so fascinating to sit under you because you are always in this constant state of understanding, of learning, of seeking and exploring. And I don't think you'll ever stop,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And you're the kind of person that like on your deathbed will be telling us like, this is what it's like. I'm going there. This is what it's like. Relay the information. Like you're that person. But here's the thing I do know. I do know that you are genius level. We aren't going to go into that because I think that's a private conversation that you shared with me afterwards. But I did take photos and me and Eric were getting our food. We're sitting at the buffet and I was like putting some like steak on my plate. And then I had this just thought, I said, it's funny, huh? I was like, we're eating. And I was like, you know how killer whales play with their food before they eat? I was like, those two over there talking away from the group. I was like, those are two killer whales. I said, the genius thinks he's the killer whale playing with his food, but he doesn't realize he's playing with another killer whale who's playing dead until... And you were telling us about the conversations afterwards, and it's fascinating. And I asked you like, why are you interested in that? And you're like, you're fascinated by the idea of the way he sees himself,
and the way he sees the world, and because I still have so much to learn. That whenever I'm around someone that has an area of expertise or uniqueness,
yeah,
you know, I'm always inclined to try to understand them.
Okay,
and I think that's the thing is that I'm trying. He told me in 10 minutes I can dissect anyone. I can tell you what your level of happiness is. I can tell you what your potential financial income is. He named like 4 or 5 things. He said in 10 minutes I can break a person down completely. So after an hour and a half, I said, well, are you going to break me down or are you going to leave me hanging? You said in 10 minutes. And he paused and he goes, well, no, I can't because I've been doing all the talking. Yeah. And I said, I know, it's because I'm a really good listener. Right. But see, an hour and a half later, he knew nothing about me, but I knew so much about him. And, you know, isn't learning more important than knowing?
Look, I'm not the food either. Just leave me alone. I'm here. I know SeaWorld's canceled, but I'm just here hanging out with the killer whales. I'm observing. Okay, so here's the thing. So what we're committing to with the Art of Communication, what you get on top of the 6 hours and 15 minutes of content. Okay, so what we're committing to with the Art of Communication is an online summit where you help pastors.
I'm going to do 2 different ones. One for pastors.
Yes.
Specifically, I'm going to do it for Easter, so we can do it in the next few weeks.
Right.
And I'm going to take a passage in the moments around the death and resurrection of Jesus and say, okay, here's how to craft a Good Friday or an Easter Sunday message. And then for business people, we'll do a different one that deals with how to take other disciplines and find illustrations and images and insights to help you with your own messaging.
But you can access both of them.
Yeah.
If you're a business person, you want to access the pastor session, you can access it. If you're a pastor and you want to access the business session, I think you should access it.
Yeah. And then, if you want to go to both, you can.
Yes, if you want to go to both, you can. And we're going to record them. So if you miss it, you can access it. And one more thing, you're going to talk about breaking down the idea. So that's going to be one of those 2 things. And then that's it, right?
So you need to go and pre-register.
So you need to go to pre-register, get on the wait list, and then you need to go and buy this on Wednesday. Do not wait because the price will increase $1,000 on Monday of next week. Here's the other thing. I think we had this idea because I was like, what if we find these cultural moments like when Kanye West stole the mic from Taylor Swift and break down these interesting cultural moments where we're seeing public speaking happen in real time and watching it fall apart or really succeed, and you kind of doing like a quarterback breakdown of communicators, like a gladiator, it will be a bloodbath.
Oh,
of
you know what that makes me think of?
What?
What does Shaq do? Shaq does that. Austin, do you know?
Oh, Shaq and a Fool?
Shaq and a Fool. Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be my version of Shaq and a Fool.
And it would be kind of cool if we can find someone who you can, with their permission, break down a really bad moment on and like go like, okay, let me give you practical tools and like go, this is what you walked on the stage wrong. I remember one of the first things you ever said to me is how you go up on that stage will determine how they see you.
Yeah.
Go up with energy. They'll see you with energy. Go up with life. They'll absorb life.
Yeah.
You know, and like all of those little things you've taught me as a little baby.
Yep.
As a person developing in their ability to communicate, I'm gonna be there and I want you to just pour that out. Do you think you could do it?
Oh, that'd be fun. All right. Yeah. And if you're listening and you're a well-known communicator and you want to throw your message in there, send it our way and maybe we'll consider it.
Yeah. My first question to you would be, hit me with that receipt from the masterclass.
Oh, there you go.
And then send me your clip and then we'll go on and then we'll have a conversation. And I think it will be incredibly, I think it'll be incredible.
Yeah.
It'll be gold for people.
But I just got to be straight up. When you break down someone's message, it's like doing an autopsy on a living thing.
It is.
It is painful.
There is nothing more painful than that.
Yeah.
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 But
other than probably telling a girl you love her and then her being like, oh, thank you. It's that level of pain.
Quick question.
Yes.
You said you're going to do an online summit. You said one is for pastors. What's the other one for?
The other one's for entrepreneurs. It's for everybody else.
Great.
Yeah.
But they can access each other.
Yeah.
I just think we want to be really honoring to the community that follows us.
And if you're listening and you're a part of a church, let your pastor know. So he can join us.
If you're a pastor, if you're an elder at a church, you should find a way to put this into your budget to bless your pastor with.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%. And if you're a CEO and you run a sales team, you should be buying 10, 20 of these things and gifting them as a gift because you love them and because they're killers for you. They sell your stuff. So go invest in yourself, invest in your team, invest in your church, and go and get this thing done. We will never sell anything this hard because we don't ever really know if our clothes are good. We're doing the best we can. We don't ever really know. But like, I know two things. You write amazing books and you're the most phenomenal communicator I've ever heard. So theartofcommunication.org. That's it.
All right. I think we're done for the day.
Thank you for listening to the Battle Ready podcast. I just want to give a shout out to Vincent Del Monte because we met him. He's from Toronto.
Yeah.
And he was a really amazing business guy at this 100 Million Mastermind. He came up. He's like, I listened to Battle Ready. I ended up knowing a friend of his friend. He was a business partner of a buddy of mine I just made. And so, I just want to shout him out. He was amazing. His presence was incredible. It was good to get feedback from him. And I hope I can be a better student to your teaching.
That's incredible.
All right. Love you, Dad.
All right. Love you too.
Okay. Rate and review this podcast. Check it out. YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, all the Google things. Get this podcast. Check it out. Send it. I want this thing to go. Let the numbies pop. Get this out to your teams, your families, your friends. Take a risk on us. This is a great episode, I believe, and we're so grateful for every person who tunes in every single week. You often hit me up and ask, how can I support the podcast? You know how you can support the podcast? I don't want you to give us money. I want you to buy this course and give yourself experience, life change, and growth through this communication course. All right, we're ending this thing now. Bye.